My name's Eileen Moore. I sit on the California Court of Appeal. I can't say that I always had that state of mind. I came home from being a combat nurse in Vietnam during the war. I walked right into the middle of the women's liberation movement, and I grabbed for that brass ring and never looked back. And then I think it was about 96 or 97, I was already on the Superior Court. I was a trial judge, and I was asked to speak at the Richard Nixon Presidential Library for some special event by the local chapter of Vietnam Veterans of America. And the first 3 rows were filled with men in tattered fatigues, looking beaten down and pitiful, actually. I spoke, and after I spoke, those 3 rows of, well, first of all, I looked at them and I immediately thought, homeless, self-medicated Vietnam vets. And after I spoke, the 3 rows just surrounded me, and each one had to touch me somewhere, my shoulders, my arms, and one took his pointer finger and went over and over the top of my hand. And I guess at that point, it really shook me to my core. I realized that I really hadn't done anything when it came to veterans, and it made me remember what it was like when they were usually brought in by helicopter unconscious, but when they'd wake up and see one of the nurses standing next to them or beside them, they'd often touch your hand, squeeze your hand, or reach up and touch your face because they weren't quite sure where they were, but seeing an American girl there, they knew that it must be someplace safe. That pretty much shook me to my core, and I realized that I had to start doing something. So I started getting involved with veterans issues. There was a local judge, Judge Wendy Lindley, who was she was launching the first veterans court in California, and it was either the 2nd or the 3rd in the country. And she knew that I was a Vietnam vet and asked me if I could gather up some of the guys to volunteer as mentors in the court, which I did do. And I said, Wendy, if you have any women veterans and if you need some help mentoring them, I'll be happy to come over. So for 9 years, from 2009 until 2017, I went over to the local veterans court and mentored on Tuesday afternoons, mostly to women, sometimes to men though. I am totally convinced that every single person in a veterans treatment court truly wants that veteran to succeed, from the prosecutor to the defense attorney to the bailiff. I think and the court clerk, everybody seems to be specially selected to have that kind of heart that just kind of beats out of their chest. They just really care about our veterans. And it's just a beautiful thing to see that there's no blasé kind of attitude. It's a all for one and one for all. And that goes to, even before court started, when the team was meeting in some conference room somewhere, the mentors and the mentees would be out in the hallway, and there was a certain esprit de corps among everybody that, and if somebody had violated, other veterans or other mentors would go up to the person and say, gee, I hope things go better for you next time. And then when they were in court, and walking up the aisle looking ashamed because they had violated, people in the court be reaching out in the aisle, say, it's okay, you'll do better. So the supportive atmosphere was really wonderful, and it was encouraging, and it was motivating. I think it does become important because everybody is so supportive and so encouraging. The veteran who has violated doesn't want to let the other veterans down. So it becomes more of a team effort to get that person back on track. And you could tell when that turning point came. That is, when they first went into veterans court, they'd maybe be slumped over, looking bored, and I wanting to be anywhere else but here. But there was a point where all of a sudden they'd start standing up straight, and they'd be in the at ease position, looking respectful of everyone around there, and you knew, okay, he's going to make it or she's going to make it. I think it's important to have mentors in the Veterans Treatment Program, and if possible, match them up gender-wise, race-wise, branch of service-wise, age-wise, as much as possible. But usually it's not possible because there are not that many veterans. But I think that the team, the judge, somebody has to take the responsibility of finding mentors. Mentors bring an extra added perspective in that they're not, I mean, it's kind of funny for a judge to be saying this, but they're not judgmental. They accept the person for who they are. They understand, they feel what the veteran is feeling because they probably felt something similar themselves. They understand what the pressure of being in a combat zone is. There was another time, and this woman turned out okay too, but she was not taking her veterans court seriously. She was a drinker, and I could kind of tell. I wasn't sure, but I could kind of tell because she'd be chewing a lot of mints and chewing gum, and I thought I smelled alcohol underneath all that, and I wasn't about to report her because nobody told me that I had to report, so I didn't report anything like that. But I kept saying to her, you know, if you are drinking, I'm not drinking, but if you are, you're not fooling anybody but yourself. And if you recognize that if you take the high road, your life is going to open up for you. And it did open up for her, and time went on, and I went to her college graduation, and that was pretty rewarding. But I'll tell you, there was one instance where I was so discouraged, and that is this young woman who had been she told me she had been sexually molested, and the judge ordered her into therapy, group therapy, and she said, she had a lot of spunk. She said, "Judge, I'd rather go to jail than be in the same room as military men." And that was the only therapy that they had available. And she dropped out of veterans court and went to jail. And that was really discouraging. Well, I think that they seem to have a misconception that they're not doing real judging when they're doing that. And I think they're wrong. I think this is exactly the way the criminal justice system is going for now and for the future. I mean, we have watched for decades as we pass by freeway on and off ramps, as we pass by major arteries, and there's somebody standing there with a sign and a tin cup, Vietnam vet. We let them down terribly, and we can't, as a society, we can't do that ever again. These Vietnam vets, we didn't help them. They came home, they had the same needs that our current veterans have, and we didn't step up to the plate. They were in and out of jail for year in and year out, year in, and now they're dying. And we can't do that as a society. We cannot do that. We can't afford to do that. And the right thing to do is to take care of our veterans. They generally speaking, they had no criminal history. They were good, decent people when they went into the military. They believed in the United States of America. They were very patriotic. And something happened to them to send them to the wrong side of the law. And we need to help them straighten out, give them some treatment, get them employable, and send them on their way. And hopefully they're going to come back and help other veterans. I mean, when you think about veterans, the motto of Vietnam Veterans of America is never again will one generation of veterans abandon another. And the motto of the Afghanistan veterans is we've got your back. So veterans understand what they need to do, and the more veterans we get involved with this system, I think the better off it'll be, and the more people will understand where we should go. It does not. It does not. And I think these collaborative courts are where we all have to go. Otherwise, we're just paying this money to house people in a cruel way for the rest of their lives instead of encouraging them to take the high road. Because most people are basically, I understand that there's some monsters out there, and that's a different story, but most people are decent people.